I'm gonna rank every Pokemon from easiest to hardest in Pokemon Unite. Hi trainers, I'm Teet, this is Nuts, and for the question of the day, which Pokemon do you personally find to be your hardest and your easiest? Let me know in the comments down below. This is based on my experience and my personal playstyle, so your answers might be different, and I'm curious to find out who you guys think the hardest Pokemon is. For the tiers, we have pros only. Not literally, but you know what I mean. Sweatin'. You're a sweaty gamer. Why are you trying so hard? The Average? Wait, I spelled that wrong. The average, I spelled that wrong again. The average, so they're not easy, they're not hard, they're just in the middle. One hand only because you don't need both hands to play with this Pokemon. And for the easiest here, your eyes are closed. You don't even have to be conscious that you're playing this Pokemon. It is that easy. Before we jump into it, I would like to introduce you to Omnidesk. Omnidesk is an Australian brand where they sell motorized desks where you can adjust the height to your liking for a standing position, a sitting position, a squatting position. I don't know, I don't judge. Not only that, they do sell accessories that make your setup look so good, from lighting to mounts, headphone hangers, microphone booms, lifts, roller stands, RGB lights, premium desk mats. Oh my gosh, there is so many things. As gamers, as people that work from home a lot, as people that just, I don't know, maybe are at their desk all day, your health is so important. And I think the best investment that one can make with themselves is for their health. Or if you want to treat a loved one or something like that as well, Christmas is also coming up. Maybe get them something from Omnidesk. It's really nice starting my mornings just at my desk, standing, reading my emails, doing things that I normally do sitting down, but now in a more healthy way, standing. It's so important for our health to get some physical activity, especially when you're at your desk all day. I have a code linked down below for $30 off. You can enter Super Teeds at checkout or click the link down below. You'll get $30 off your order and it'll really help me out as well. Okay, on to the video. First we have Cinderace. Cinderace, I would say, is one hand only. I think Cinderace is a pretty easy Pokemon to pick up. Most of it is just basic attacks. Personally, I find this Pokemon to be super duper hard. One of the Pokemon that I think a beginner could come in and just play. Also, I would like to disclaim this video as well because there is a difference between picking up a Pokemon and playing it. We're gonna go by that logic instead of going by how hard it is to master the Pokemon, because I would say every Pokemon has a higher difficulty when trying to master it, which means like trying to be like the best you can at this Pokemon. And this is just a for fun tier list, so please don't yell at me. Sometimes you guys yell at me for these tier lists and I'm just out here trying to have fun. It's just based like, pretend you're a beginner going into the game. That's how we're gonna look at it, okay? Garchomp. Can I just say, I think Garchomp is one of the Pokemon that, I'm just gonna put it here for a second, that I think a lot of players come into the game and play it, which is why you see a lot of new players playing Garchomp and there's still Gibbles sometimes at Rayquaza. Don't question it, it's just how it is. So because of how Garchomp works, I also think that they could buff it more. Personally, don't come at me for this, but this is my opinion. I think Garchomp is average. I don't think Garchomp is very easy to play. I don't think it's super hard to play, but I think with how it works, you can kind of get focused really easily and just die. Gengar's a funny one. So Gengar, I would say, is a sweating Pokemon if you use Dream Eater and Shadow Ball. That moveset's hard. But if you use Hex and Sludge Bomb, that's your eyes closed. I played both movesets and I will have to say I can't believe I played Gengar the harder way when I could just be playing Gengar the easier way. I think Hex and Sludge is the more common build that people use, so I'm going to put it eyes closed because probably a little bit more people are familiar with that with Gengar. Cramorant. I think Cramorant is a sweating Pokemon. I think this Pokemon is not the easiest to pick up, and all the players I go against when they're playing Cramorant, they absolutely demolish me. Ninetales. I think Ninetales is pretty easy. I'm gonna put Ninetales in one hand only. I think it's a pretty easy Pokemon to pick up. I don't think it's super duper hard. I think it's between one hand only and eyes closed, but I'm gonna put it in one hand only. Wigglytuff. I think Wigglytuff is an eyes closed. Oh my god, I still have the trauma from when Wigglytuff was OP. Wigglytuff come in there singing. You know, when you look at Wigglytuff, you think Wigglytuff is singing really nice tunes. Not Wigglytuff in Pokemon Unite. No, it's a menace. It is singing the most horrifying tunes to us.
The ones that haunt us in our sleep.
Next we have Machamp. So I think Machamp is actually pretty average, and I think that's because he doesn't have like a ton of skill shots. I don't play a lot of Machamp, but I was able to do okay with him. He's also the only Pokemon I have a $60 skin for, and I don't even play him, so I do have a lot of regrets. I'm still in debt to this day. Please subscribe and click the bell. It would really help me pay off my debt of that one Machamp holo I bought. It cost me my kidney, guys. Absol. I think Absol, honestly, personally, I kind of find Absol pretty one hand only. Some of its moves can be just really auto aimed and stuff. But I can also see like the difficult part of Absol. When I was a new player in Pokemon Unite, I played Absol because it did so much damage and it was so easy to play. So I'm gonna go one hand only, but you do have to go in at the right times because you can also just get blown up. Slowbro. I think Slowbro was average. I don't think Slowbro was actually the easiest Pokemon to play. I think it's actually a pretty middle defender, especially with telekinesis. I never can say that word. If you've been here for a long time, you know I never can say that word or never know what it is. I probably should just look it up. I don't know. I would say that a lot of people go that move, and speaking from personal experience, who rarely misses her shots, I always miss that move. So it's saying a lot, you know? Mr. Mime. I always thought Mr. Mime was a hard Pokemon. Actually, you know what? I think the wall move is pretty difficult at times, and using confusion with that. I think back in the day, that was a lot more, I guess, difficult to use, but then it got big buffed from Psychic and Power Up or whatever it is. And I will have to say, you could do that with your eyes closed. Mr. Mime had the biggest glow up in Pokemon Unite, from literally no one playing it, low win rate, to the highest win rate, the highest pick rate. It was insane. In its current state though, I would still say that it's really easy to play if you use that moveset. I don't have much experience in the other moveset. I'm just gonna go based on what I know, and from what I know, that moveset was kind of dumb. Venusaur. I think Venusaur is a one hand only. You'll remember the days when Venusaur was just running at everyone and taking everyone out. I think Lucario is sweating. I don't think Lucario is very easy to play. I think it's pretty, like, you know, sweating. I think Talonflame is maybe between average and one hand only. I'm gonna put it in average. Personally, you might be wondering, Tees, what is wrong with you? That Pokemon is so easy to play. Well, sometimes I'm just not as great. I know it's hard to believe. I'm kidding. Next, we have Eldegoss. I think Eldegoss is actually one hand only, and that's because you have so much big circle abilities. Like, it's so easy to hit Eldegoss's moves generally. If I had to say like the hardest move for me personally, I think Polar Puff. Like, I just started using that recently after the buff, and sometimes I do be missing that. But it is a big circle. I don't know how I'm missing it. But I think Eldegoss generally is a pretty like simple Pokemon to get and understand. I don't think it's the hardest. That Pokemon is insane sometimes too. Greninja. I think Greninja is average. I think it's an average Pokemon to play depending on the moves that you get. I think the Surf one is more average because you have to know the KO thresholds. You have to know when to go in. You know, any Pokemon that requires you to be a bit up close and you're very squishy do require brain cells more than I have. Crustle. Pros only. It's so hard because it has a hard shell, so it's I think Crustle is average. I think Crustle's average. I can never play Crustle. Personally, for me, it would be pros only because I literally can never do good on this Pokemon. But I guess if I think about the general player base, you guys would probably put it in average. Snorlax. I literally think Snorlax is a sweating Pokemon. I think it's actually pretty difficult to play. Very, very difficult to carry with. At the moment, it has such a high win rate, maybe because of a certain bug that's been going around. But I would say Snorlax is a difficult Pokemon. Personally, is what I think. Charizard. I think Charizard is a one hand only, but if you're using your Unite move, your eyes closed. I'm gonna say it's one hand only though. Pikachu, eyes closed. Give me Electro Ball. I will just spam that. I will W key with my joystick and just keep pressing Electro Ball. That's just, it's all the work is done for you. Zeraora. I think Zeraora is average. I think back in the days when Discharge was super strong and OP, I think it was an eyes closed Pokemon. Over nowadays, I think it's an average Pokemon. Gardevoir. I think Gardevoir is a sweating Pokemon. I think Gardevoir actually is not the easiest Pokemon to play personally. Blissey. I think Blissey is pros only. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I think Blissey is pros only. Okay, listen. Its abilities? Sure, yeah. Very easy to hit. Eyes closed. But you can't keep your eyes closed as Blissey. I wouldn't be surprised if Blissey players had red shot eyes. I wouldn't be surprised if it looks like they haven't slept for days because they are trying so hard to look after every single teammate on their team. They are doing such hard work for us traders. With the brain, pros only. But with the skills, I will have to say the skills are pretty easy to use. I will say eyes closed for the skills. However, you know what? I'm gonna leave it in pros only. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna leave it there. I think brain-wise, you gotta be a pro. Next we have Blastoise. So I think Blastoise is pretty one hand only. It's a lot of big circle abilities. Again, you kind of just run in them, spinning around. Got a big surf ability that has a pretty wide radius as well. Your Unite move is huge. One of my favorite Unite moves as well. But I don't know now, but back then it did a ton of damage, ton of crowd control. It was huge. It was so hard to miss. Literally, when you miss a Unite move on Blastoise, it feels bad. Because it's such an easy move. It happens. It's fine. But when you miss it, it just feels bad because it's such a big ability move. Blastoise, I think, is one of the easier defenders to use personally. Next, we have Mamoswine. I think Mamoswine is average. I sometimes do miss Ice Fang. Like Ice Fang, you can literally use it on the air and it does nothing. It's pretty crazy. Has a ton of crowd control. Mamoswine has a lot of crowd control, can really set up team fights. Its Unite move, I find a little bit weird to use sometimes, but I think it's pretty good as well. It does have the issue where like its abilities are a lot slower to use than some other Pokemon. They have sped it up, so it's a bit easier now, but sometimes you can avoid it a little bit better just because the moves are not as instantaneous. Is that the word? Not as instant noodles. I don't know what that's not even a joke. I don't even know where that came from, but that's what I think about Mamoswine. I just think it's pretty average. Next, we have Sylveon. I think Sylveon is a one hand only. You have Mystical Fire, which is auto aimed for you. You have Hyper Voice, which is a big cone ability. It's probably why it was one of my mains, because it was pretty easy to use. I need Pokemon that are easy to use, okay? For my mechanical skill level, I'm sticking with the one hand only and the ice skill low. But I find Sylveon to be one of the easier attackers. Abilities are not super skill shoddy, and your Unite move as well is pretty big AoE circle, so kind of pretty simple to use. Nuts! I think Nuts is sweating. I don't know what it is, but I just can't play with Greedent. I don't understand why I can't play Greedent. I don't understand why. Maybe I just need more practice on it. However, back in the day, Greedent had such a high win rate and was super duper abused in climbing ranks and stuff. So I guess that says something. I don't know if it's maybe the scaling that was what made it really powerful. I don't really remember. However, I would say now I think it's kind of sweating. Plus the whole invade thing, I can't even do it. Decidueye. I think Decidueye is pros only. I'm not gonna lie. The skill shots, the Razor Leaf being so hard to go into a fight with. Positioning so important. I think Decidueye is pros only. Tsareena. I don't play enough Tsareena to actually know. I think Tsareena is probably average. Next, we have Dragonite. Now, Dragonite's a Pokemon that I never really got the hang of properly. I know. Maybe some of you are like face palming me right now when you're like, Tids, how? So, you know, you have to keep track of its stacks, its rotating basic attacks. Hyper Beam, I don't know why, but sometimes I somehow miss it. Maybe that's not supposed to happen. I don't remember Hyper Beam that much. I do remember it being really strong though. Its Unite move is really cool. You can do some really fast rotations. You can gank enemies. You can back score, what do they call it? It's really cool with Dragonite. I think it's average. I do think with Outrage, it is a bit hard to use. It's not as good as the other moveset. A lot of people have given it a lot of flack, the Outrage Dragonite. So in general, I think it's just pretty average just because it has rotating basic attacks. Its Unite move is very unique in the sense that it doesn't have a super long cooldown. So like, when do you use it? It's based on the range and stuff, but yeah, that's what I think about Dragonite at least. Trevenant. I think Trevenant is a pretty easy Pokemon to use. I think it's a one hand only. You just never die with that Pokemon. Aegislash. I've never played Aegislash, but I think it's, from what I know, I have spoken to some pro players and I got their opinions on some of these that I wasn't too sure of because I don't play some of these Pokemon yet. I'm saving it for a video. Aegislash apparently is pretty difficult to play, so I'm gonna put it in sweating. Next we have Hoopa. So I actually find Hoopa to be one of the harder supporters to use because this Pokemon can be pretty troll-it. So I'm gonna put it in sweating. Unite move, you can either bring all your allies to the objective, secure it, have that victory lap, win the game, or you could bring them all to their doom and somehow take them all out. You can pretty much take out your whole team. You can also single-handedly lose the game for them. What if you're all doing Rayquaza or an objective and you send them all back to base? Hoopa can do that. Also with like the trick, I don't remember what it was called, but like the move where you can aim it off another person as well can be pretty awkward to use. So I think you gotta be pretty good with geometry for that. I don't know. Yeah, I definitely think it's not one of the easiest supporters. I think it's probably like the hardest supporter to use if I'm not forgetting any supporters that are harder to use. But I find Hoopa to be pretty difficult to use. Duraludon. So Duraludon I actually think is a pretty easy Pokemon to use. I'm gonna put this in one hand only. A lot of basic attacks. I guess the biggest thing about Duraludon is that you have to watch out for its positioning because it's a Pokemon that does a ton of damage but can also just be like a literal sitting duck with like flash cannon. And sometimes I find find the move Dragon Tail to be a little bit confusing to use. Like you can either dash away or dash towards them, but once you get the hang of it, it's fine. I think Duraludon is one of the easier attackers, probably why it also has like a really high win rate as well, because it's not a super hard attacker to use and it does a ton of damage. That's what I think about Duraludon. Next we have Azumarill, which I don't actually play a ton of Azumarill, but I do remember that Azumarill benefits of 1v1s a lot because it crits always on 1v1 Pokemon. Azumarill again is not a Pokemon I have a ton of experience on, but I guess the only awkward thing about it is that like you do less damage in like team fights when there's a lot of enemies around, but you do more in like 1v1s. So you gotta pick your targets carefully, try and catch people out. Yes, that is something that you have to manage with Azumarill that you don't have to do with other Pokemon. But that is something that I find a bit awkward to use, which is why I put in average. But if it didn't have that, I think it'd be like a one-hand only Pokemon personally. Espeon, okay, not to like bully me for this, guys, but I also haven't played Espeon yet. I know. I'm getting around to it, okay, guys? I'm gonna put Espeon. Or maybe I did play Espeon. It's been so long. I think we'll put Espeon in average as well. I think Delphox with that ping pong / golf build, I think it's kind of sweating. I think it's pretty hard to use. I think it's the easiest. But with the other one, the fire spin and stuff, I think it was pretty one hand only / average. It's really hard when they have two movesets that are like completely different from each other. Maybe I'll put in average just because it has two different movesets. Glaceon. I'm not gonna lie, I also haven't played Glaceon. Dudes, what are you doing? Look, I'm saving so much for the content and I'm gonna get around to it, traders, okay? But from what I see in Glaceon is pretty one hand only because they don't have to aim their moves. Buzzwole. I think Buzzwole is pretty average to play. I think right now Leech Life also is just not that great, and I wish that it was because I think it's such a funny move to use, but you get CC'd out of that so quickly and so easily. Tyranitar. I think Tyranitar's kind of sweating. I think it's literally the Hunger Games until you get to level 9. That's how I think Tyranitar is. And in solo queue, sometimes your teammates don't even let you get to level 9, so it makes it even harder. Mew is so difficult. I tried Mew for the first time a bit ago. I haven't uploaded the video yet, but oh my god, I don't have the brain power for Mew. Mew is so hard. Automatically, if I see a player that is good at Mew, I will just think that they deserve to be in the Pro League. How do you manage that many skills and they just switch between them? Oh my gosh, I can barely keep up with just 2. Next we have Dodrio. So Dodrio is like a Pokemon that has a lot of mental gymnastics. I think it's kind of sweating. So Dodrio is a lot of like building up its passive, running around enemies, invading, stealing, just really a big trolly distraction, okay? Now, I'm a bit of a troll in my games, but I can never be on this level of troll. I can never be on Dodrio's level of troll. Now, this Pokemon is just, its playstyle is very, very different to other Pokemon. Kind of like, I would say it would maybe be on the same level as like a Greedent playstyle with like it's evading and like running around. It's like a little sibling, you know? I don't know. It's like, I love my little siblings. They're so adorable and they're funny, but sometimes as an older sibling, little siblings can get on your nerves, and that's kind of what Dodrio reminds me of. Scyther / Sizzle. I haven't played this Pokemon, so I don't know, but my pro player friend said it was pretty difficult, so we're gonna put it in sweating. Clefable's eyes closed. I think this Pokemon's pretty easy to play ability-wise. Skills are very easy to hit. I have been severely annoyed by Follow Me lately. Just would like to put it out there. Next, we have Zoroark. So Zoroark is one of the newer speedsters in Pokemon Unite, and I think this Pokemon is sweating. I don't think it's a super easy Pokemon to use, especially with one of its attacks. I forgot what it was called, but the one that's not Feint Attack, I think. Well, actually, Feint Attack is kind of difficult to use as well because you have to like try and manage the location of your teleport and then attack, then teleport to that and then attack. It's just so strange. This attack chain is kind of hard to get off. And then Night Slash has that like really weird aim mechanic kind of thing focusing. I remember I played Zoroark on stream and I was just having a difficult time trying to get the hang of it again after making the literal guide, and I'm just like, okay, that says a lot. But once you get the hang of it, well, it's better, but it's definitely a Pokemon that you can't just go in and then be like, hey, this Pokemon's pretty easy. It definitely is a Pokemon that you have to go in and try to get used to. Sableye is not hard because you're invisible. Can't hit something that's not there, you know what I mean? One hand only for this Pokemon. Next, we have Urshifu. So Urshifu is a Pokemon that I don't have a ton of experience on because it's newer and I only played it in the PTS so far. But from what I've seen, it seems like a pretty average Pokemon. Pokemon. In PTS, honestly, I was surprised I could do as much damage as I was doing. Maybe it's between one hand only and average, but because I don't have a ton of experience on it, I'm gonna put it in average because, I mean, it's a Pokemon that not a ton of people are playing just yet. I don't see a lot of it in my games. I haven't even gone against a ton of Ushifus yet. So from my lack of experience with this Pokemon, I'm gonna think it's average based on the PTS experience that I had. I did a ton of damage though. If the damage is still like that, then maybe I should put that eyes closed. I don't know. I'm gonna keep it in average for now. Okay, so that is all for this tier list from hardest to easiest Pokemon. In my opinion, this is how I feel about these Pokemon. You might feel completely different. Let me know in the comments down below what your hardest and easiest Pokemon is. Thank you so much for watching, trainers. Please check out Omnidesk, like the video if you enjoyed this, and I'll catch you for the next one.